Wednesday of Passion Week was a kind of uneventful day, except for one event. What happens is the religious leaders don't like Jesus, and so they get together and they decide we've got to kill this guy, and we got to figure out how to do that. And so then cut to the other side in Bethany, and Jesus and the disciples are there, and Mary comes in and anoints Jesus' head in the Gospel of Mark, feet in the Gospel of John. She probably did both, but each Gospel is emphasizing different things. And in that moment, the disciples, specifically Judas, see that this is happening. She spent like this really expensive ointment anointing Jesus with it. They could have sold it and used the money, they say, to give to the poor. We find out that Judas is actually just mad because he helps himself from the money bag. So what happens is Judas doesn't like the fact that this money has been wasted on anointing Jesus. But Jesus says, no, it's actually okay. She's taken this and done a very great thing. But Judas doesn't like that. Judas is an interesting character because we always think of him as like the devil immediately, but Judas was a revolutionary. He followed Jesus thinking he had his own idea of what the Messiah was going to be, and Jesus ended up not living up to that. He thought Jesus was going to be a revolutionary like him. He wasn't. And so when Judas finally figures out that Jesus is not who he thought he was, he turns on him. He goes to the religious leaders and says, what will you give me to betray him? And they say, we'll give you money. We'll give you a bunch of pieces of silver. We'll give you some money. And he takes it. The money is worth more to him than the Son of God is. He's willing to give his soul away for the sake of 30 pieces of silver. Very little. Because Jesus isn't that valuable to him. He's got his own ideas of who Jesus is, of what Jesus is about, and when Jesus doesn't measure up to them, he leaves Jesus. Is that how you treat Jesus? Are you committed to Jesus no matter what, or is it only when he is serving you in some way? Because that's the difference in the rest of the disciples and Judas. The rest of the disciples certainly scatter from Jesus when he's being arrested, but they come back to him. They follow him. Judas eventually does forget what he did and run from it and try to give the money back, but then he goes and kills himself. All of this sprung from the fact that Jesus wasn't worth it to him. Jesus is worth your life. The question is, are you going to find him valuable above all else, or are you going to find something else more valuable than Jesus? Because that will determine your destiny. You will either be like the 11 disciples who go on to become servants of Jesus in the world after he rises from the dead, or you will be like Judas and you will give your life away to something else that you find to be more valuable than Jesus. Which one are you?